good afternoon, and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. This is program number 1102 of the Lunchroom, and I'm your host, Calix George Jr. And of course, in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can also get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com. We're also streaming on YouTube. Of course, just subscribe to that page, Radio Caribbean International on YouTube, and of course, be sure to share that link as well, please, with your friends and family. Now, some birthday wishes for today going out to Mr. Lokesh Singh. Happy birthday to you, sir, and wishing you an absolutely fantastic birthday celebration. Also, sending birthday greetings to Mrs. Natasha Edwin Walcott. Happy birthday to you, and we do wish you a splendid birthday. Hope it's a great one. And also to Miss Nadej George. Happy birthday to you as well, and we hope that you're having a wonderful birthday celebration. Now, a bit of history for today. In the year 1814, the Times of London, first printed by automatic steam-powered presses, and those were built by German inventors Friedrich Koenig and Andreas Friedrich Bauer, and that made newspapers available to a mass audience. In the year 1893, on this day, women were allowed to vote in the national election for the first time in the world, and that happened in the New Zealand general election of that year. In 1895, America's first auto race was organized by the Chicago Times-Herald, and it was the route Chicago to Evanston and back, and it was 6 cars, 55 miles, and a gentleman by the name of Frank Duria won, and his average speed was about 7 miles per hour. That took quite a while to do that race. In the year 1919, American-born Lady Nancy Astor was elected as the first female member of the British House of Commons. 1967 saw the first radio pulsars detected by British postgraduate Jocelyn Bell Burnell and her supervisor Anthony Hewish. And that happened at Cambridge University. And in 1975, on this day, As the World Turns and The Edge of Night, the final 2 American soap operas that had resisted going to pre-taped broadcasts, aired their last live episodes. And we now move on to our dish of the day. The Daily Dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+, with all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also black, that's and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses, Jugosile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Now, of course, just yesterday we were touching on the matter of crime, in particular violent crime, which has been plaguing our island for a number of years now and has certainly seemed to have been going on the upward rise. And unfortunately, another homicide occurring this time in the community of Bocage, and again involving a male individual. And although the locations may vary, some of the scenes seem to be very similar. Apparent gunshot wounds, and again, this continuing plague that we have been faced with and we are trying to deal with certainly has brought our current homicide count up to 71 for the year. And just to clarify, I think I might have given a statement yesterday that may have suggested that we were closer to 80, but what I was suggesting was that given that we're at November, if we continue along the trend, we may very well get close to that 80 mark and certainly push us over what is the current the current record, I think, which is about 72. So certainly a very unfortunate situation regarding the matter of crime here in St. Lucia, and no doubt it will have to be given even greater priority in the scheme of things. We are seeing how it can certainly cause for a loss of economic activity. It can make individuals less comfortable to go out and to spend in certain areas, and it certainly does not help overall the image of the country, as we of course are very much dependent on the tourism dollar, and that is effectively, whether you are in the industry or not, whether you may be working in another sector, you're not too far away from the tourist dollar in some form or fashion. And of course, it is a major contributor to the island's tax base. And so if in fact you find a situation where, although thus far we haven't really seen any related crimes with visitors, but it still does not paint a very pleasant image for the country. And of course, more critically, it is certainly wounding people. It's wounding the families who are left to mourn, the children who are quite often left as orphans or with one parent trying to make ends meet. The breadwinner is getting lost. Quite often we are dealing with males, young males in their prime, and who should be able to make a contribution. They are losing their lives. It's never going to come back. And it is certainly a serious, serious blow every time to families when they are dealing with these situations. So let's hope that we can see some positivity and some change and some things actually taking root in terms of the actions regarding crime. Now, on to the other matter, of course, of the interest in tourism. A new project on the continues, and that is the Courtyard by Marriott. It is a branded hotel which is being constructed in the Point Seraphine area. In fact, just off the duty-free Point Seraphine shopping center. And it's supposed to be, I believe, about 9 levels when it's completed. Certainly is going to make an impression on the Castries skyline, and certainly over 100 rooms going to be added to the room stock of St. Lucia. And of course, the matter of hotel accommodation is a very important one because it tends to be what will drive the availability of hotel rooms, will tend to drive the even the availability of airlift. And if we are hoping to get more airlift, and certainly hopefully more affordable airlift, you do need that investment to come in. And so it certainly does create a very welcome buzz. And so continued expansion of hotel accommodation is necessary. We have seen over the years a number of properties going through significant changes, complete demolition to construct a new. And of course, we saw that in the case of the former Club St. Lucia property, now the Royalton, now the largest hotel on island with well over 400 rooms. And we've also lost a number of rooms in the, whereas really the sort of the epicenter of visitor accommodation on island, that of Rodney Bay, since the demolition of the Rex St. Lucia. Plans afoot to introduce a Planet Hollywood. They have not yet come to the point of actual construction, but certainly we can see that there is a need for additional investment to continue expanding on that room count. Now, there's been, of course, always this back and forth as to, do we need more hotel rooms? There's been this question as to what is the carrying capacity, how many rooms can the island handle, and of course there'll be numerous factors in play when it comes to that issue. Of course, one of them is being able to service these accommodation centers, and they quite often will require significant amounts of utilities, whether it's water to ensure that the landscaping remains green and the pools remain filled, and of course the properties remain clean, and of course the general utilization by visitors tends to be a little higher than the average household because of laundries and all of that, and of course the energy that is required to power these properties requires more generation. Of course, you also have the impact of roads and more people on those roads as well because of the activity that's being generated. So there is certainly an impact on the infrastructure that is available, and it certainly does mean that you've got to have infrastructure that has the capacity to handle this. But certainly we do still have quite a lot of potential in terms of expansion of hotel property and hotel plant. But of course, it has to be done in a sensitive way that ensures that there is good balance in terms of access to the beaches, which has always been a major issue. And we've seen how in some areas where hotel owners are trying to create enclaves and trying to create exclusive experiences, that of course goes against the ethos of public access to the coastline and public access to beaches. So we've got to ensure that it balances out. Now, of course, we also have a variety of tourism options, and the push towards more eco-based experiences, the push towards more community-based experiences is also very important. When one goes quite possibly to the Swiss Alps, for example, or to many European destinations, the city, the town, is the resort, and it is integrated into the urban space that exists, and quite sometimes or maybe the rural space that exists, and so it has to ensure that there has to be integration. There has to be a better mixing and ensuring that people can in fact experience the authentic offering that the country has. And so the model that we may have had dating back to the 1970s, 1960s, 1970s, where the hotel was the resort separate from everybody in a different area, is certainly perhaps not really the kind of model that is quite practical in the case of St. Lucia, because of the nature of our development. And of course, it's not to say that you can't have them, but you certainly do also want to ensure that you have the more authentic experiences interspersed within the community. And that, however, requires that the communities themselves are developed likewise. So that's our dish of the day. When we come back, we'll be taking in some calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. With all kind of tiles, come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in is 4523046. Again, 4523046, as well as our WhatsApp number. It is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Now, just a quick release coming from the Office of the Prime Minister, and that is on the matter of new and improved immigration office to enhance public services. And the release reads as follows. The government of St. Lucia announces the relocation of the Immigration Department to a new office situated upstairs in the Cox building at the intersection of Jeremy Street and Cadet Street. This move signifies a meaningful progression in improving the working environment for our dedicated immigration officers. The relocation is designed to enhance the efficiency of passport collection and application processes, as well as streamline visa applications and processing, along with other services provided by the Immigration Department. This move also aims to create a more seamless experience for the public. Simultaneously, the move is focused on providing immigration officers with a healthier, more comfortable and productive workspace. The occupation of the new premises is a source of satisfaction for both Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre and the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Virginia Albert Poyot. This action demonstrates the government's dedication to the welfare of its employees and to the improving of its service delivery to the general public. The new office will be ready to serve the public very soon. The Prime Minister and Minister for Home Affairs extend heartfelt gratitude to both the immigration staff and the general public for their patience during the transition. The government recognizes and values their understanding and cooperation. That release coming today from the Office of the Prime Minister. And of course, I would believe it is pretty welcome news for St. Lucians who have been experiencing challenges with accessing the passport services, and we have seen that has been a source of scorn for many individuals who've got to line up very early in the morning to be able to get their passports processed. And so this is certainly some very welcome news in terms of moving forward to be able to expedite passport services. Of course, we've seen also people may have very well been taking advantage of the delays, and we've seen that as some people seeing it as an opportunity to provide new and expedited services, and that became quite a very controversial matter when individuals were charging premiums to be able to expedite the process. So certainly let's hope that this is going to improve the flow and the workflow and the ability of getting those services more easily available to the average person. Now, as well, yesterday we began talking about a statement that had been made by former Speaker, former Castries Central Member of Parliament, Sarah Flood Bobra, Mrs. Bobra indicating that she was disappointed, or she would expect that it's time for the church to speak up on issues. And this was coming from a story on Loop St. Lucia, and it reads as follows. Former Castries Central MP Sarah Flood Bobra says she is disappointed in the church for not speaking out against the issues affecting the citizens of the country. She made the comment on Wednesday on Newsmaker Live, hosted by Timothy Polio. She was at the time expressing her thoughts on what transpired in the House of Assembly on Tuesday, November the 21st, when the Speaker of the House, Claudius Francis, said he would make a decision as to whether the proceedings shall continue to be broadcast live. Quote, he's contemplating denying the people of St. Lucia the opportunity to view the proceedings live. Why? Because he has lost control of the House, she said, categorizing it as an abuse of power and an attack on democracy. Quote, I am disappointed in the church in totality, all the churches, I am probably disappointed mostly in my church, the Roman Catholic Church. Flood Bobra said, quote, if the Bar Association does not want to speak, if all the women's groups don't want to speak, if the chamber does not want to speak, the church should speak. It is high time the church speaks up. It's gone past time, she said. According to her, the church should be the greatest protector of democracy, and she described the silence of the church and civil society as very scary. In rejecting the view that the church should not get involved in matters of the state, she said the church should get involved in matters of the people. Quote, the church has gotten involved before. The church is in parliament every opening of a sitting prayer. Come and pray and leave. Flood Bobra noted that during the United Workers' Party's most recent stint in office, the church spoke out, identifying the Desert Star Holding DSH project and the dump site in Vieux as two issues the church opined on. Suddenly, the church must lose its voice, she asked. She called on Polia to invite the Archbishop on his show as a means of facilitating her expressed goal. And, of course, that coming from former Member of Parliament, Mrs. Sarah Flood Bobra, and she is, I think also, well, at one point in time, very briefly, was elected as Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly as well. And of course, we have seen Mrs. Flood Bobra raise moral matters in the past. For instance, very famously, she took umbrage to provisions within the Criminal Code of St. Lucia, which dealt with the terminations of pregnancies, specifically in the instance where the lives of the mother was at risk. And, of course, that blew up into the quote-unquote abortion bill. And, of course, in truth, it was not really an abortion bill. It was really the Criminal Code of St. Lucia, which was, in fact, being brought forward for updating or amendment. And there was always a provision regarding this matter. And she certainly took it to the point where, of course, it was a matter of vote of conscience declared in the House. And it even saw her leading to resigning from the government and also later on contesting as an independent against in that Castries Central constituency. Of course, since then, she also joined the United Workers' Party, also tried to run for its leadership against Mr. Alan Shastney, was not successful and continued to participate in elective politics in that regard, running as between that period in 2016 to 2021, where she also served as External Affairs Minister. Let's go to the phone lines at this time to take in a call. Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you doing, caller?
Thank you. When Miss Sarah Flood said that the church don't speak out, when the church speak out, don't they ask the church to apologize when they speak out? When the last Archbishop Rivas spoke, he had to, just at the service, he was asked to apologize, and he had to come back and apologize. There was another.
Well, he was very, very. Also, he was treated with a great level of disrespect by some people in the media. You could recall none other than Mr. Rick Wayne, for instance. Denigrating his name, and there was a very deliberate attack, and including Sir Michael Shastney was involved in that as well. I think threatening an American priest who was involved in the
one who marched for the DSH
in the south of the island, a redemptress priest.
he was asked to
I think he was also he even had to. Well, I shouldn't say he had to leave the country. But he was, yes, he did in fact transfer to another parish in St. Vincent.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Because they did not want nobody to talk, and then she says that and the Archbishop has spoken on different things. But if the people want people to come on board with them, y'all have your problems, y'all feeling offended because right now y'all are not politically privileged to get all what y'all want. So why should people join in on it for you if they themselves are not feeling it? The ordinary man, if he feels that he's been assisted, he's been helped with all the different things, you all just want them to just come on board. And it's only y'all that's, yeah? Only y'all.
Well, I'm amazed, because I'm still waiting, caller, for the, I suppose that the 5-year term that had passed for that quote-unquote abortion bill to have been revoked, right? Or to have been repealed, I should say. But in reality, of course, that seemed to have been a completely mute issue, which was never taken up by Mrs. Flood Bobra when she was then back in as a member of Parliament.
She never spoke out.
There was no amendments to the legislation. It was never even brought up as a matter of concern moving forward. It was as if that issue had just sailed and there was nothing at all, and so all the issues that had been raised on that one seem to have just fallen flat. And but now, of course, another call for somebody to speak out on, in this instance, what has been termed an attack against democracy by Mrs. Flood Bobra.
That's right, the democracy. If people were not allowed to come by the parliament because it was blocked, everything it's like the Prime Minister felt that he was in control, he's in charge, and what he says goes on. Democracy was taken away from people because you were not allowed to demonstrate it. You want to demonstrate it like they're doing so often. You were not even allowed to imagine I'm going to town and passing by Parliament at the time. You can't even pass too close because this court is around, policemen are there, and all sorts of things. And you're talking about democracy. So many things people were not allowed to do.
Right, and let's face it, you do have, I mean, in some instances, and it's the purview of the institution, the board, to be able to decide how they operate. And in the case of the Parliament of St. Lucia, I am certain that they can have in-camera sessions. I am certain that they, in fact, some of the committee meetings are not necessarily held in public view. In certain instances, they can, in fact, do. In fact, that is the norm, and it really is at the pleasure of the presiding officer that there are provisions for broadcast and to those things to be allowed, right? Beyond the Hansard, that is, beyond people coming into the Parliament building and sitting in the gallery. So they.
Free to do that.
So you do have these instances. So to say that if in fact that the speaker was then saying, hey, I'm going to be asking because of your behavior that, look, this is unbecoming. This is not what we want to be seeing or coming out of a Parliament of St. Lucia, that we're going to put the cameras on pause. And it's very interesting that as soon as he made that statement, the very same leader of the opposition who seemed to refuse to want to sit down after an indication over 3 times that, a ruling had been made, right? A ruling had been made by the presiding officer of the House. He refused to sit down, all right? And then as soon as he was told that the statement made by the speaker, I'm going to potentially ask the cameras to stop running, you sit down.
Because he's deliberately doing that to trying to put the Mr. Claudius Francis on the spot. To me, that's what it's all about. Because whenever the House meets, you have to jump up and be getting on and all sorts of things just to put somebody on the spot to make him look bad. Because at the end of the day,
now had the speaker asked him to leave the premises or to leave the chamber, right? What then would we have heard? I mean, and this has happened already with, let's say, for instance, Mr. Guy Joseph. Right, for instance, who refused to listen to the ruling of then Speaker Mr. Andy Daniel, and he had to leave the chamber, right? But I'm certain that if he was then asked to leave the chamber because he was refusing to respect the decision of the speaker, we would have been hearing a whole other story about democracy again.
Yeah. I mean, you see, people are not remembering the fact that even Andy Daniel, he would deliberately disobey the rules, deliberately, and tell them and do what you want. I am not going. I mean, so you now want to come out, you say, because I think you think Claudius Francis is on the government side. You feel that you're going to make him look bad when you were doing your own, the same thing.
I mean, it's very clear. I mean, you could be a cricketer, you're a batsman, you've played a shot. The umpire deems that your leg before wicket, or maybe he thinks that you've edged the ball, it's gone back to the wicket keeper, and he's declared that it's out, but you never touched the ball, and he's made a ruling. What do you can protest right there? No, at the end of the day, the decision has been made, and you've got to head back to the pavilion.
And I find it's being fair, because even on the government side, when they are out of line, he pulled them up, and he let them know what's going, that he is in charge. As he should,
because he's supposed to be there to ensure that there is fairness in the house. Now, you can go outside of the house and criticize him all you want if you don't think that he's not being fair, right? So that's completely your purview. That's completely fine. But within the chamber, at the end of the day, he is the presiding officer. He is the one who has to guard against the rules that have been set. And of course, if there is some reason to believe that then that has to be changed, then you got to find a means to be able to challenge it, but not by challenging him like that. You do so in other ways, possibly. But
I've listened to the parliaments in other places on television and I've heard the speaker ask people to take this person out of the house.
Yep.
I've heard it.
And there's nothing, I mean, it happens all the time, as you rightly said, Caller, very much so. So I don't think that the speaker should in any way delay or feel aggrieved or think that he should not exercise his authority. I think there are rules. There are rules for all members. You may not always like the rulings. You may think what you want of the presiding officer. And the other thing about it too, Caller, if we have issues with how the presiding officer is elected, right? If we have those issues, these matters are constitutional matters. We've spoken about the matter of constitutional reform. This has been going on for decades now, right? Yeah. We've seen both parties come and go, having terms, right? And we seen any change in how a speaker is elected? To say, let's say, for instance, we want to have a speaker who is completely impartial and has never been a member of a political party. I don't know how you want to determine that.
About somebody that's impartial, because everybody have their side.
And let's face it, most speakers in parliaments, congresses around the world are elected parliamentarians. They're elected, and they are from the ruling party in nearly every instance. Yes. So I'm saying, but if we wanted something unique, different, right? Because we believe, we somehow want to have a speaker who is completely impartial and removed, or we want the governor general to appoint the speaker, whatever it is, whatever mechanism, we should have been discussing that. But you cannot now come in the parliament, right, knowing that there are rules, there are standing orders, and you want to flagrantly disregard the standing orders. So, very unfortunate situation. But thanks very much for that, Caller.
I would like to also tell Ms. Sarah Fletcher that the women don't speak out, but they sit in parliament and they do not even speak out for women. Look at the young woman that was shot in her home. Her husband was a police officer. Her mom has been walking up and down.
Mrs. De Leon.
Parliament.
Yes.
Nobody spoke out for her.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate situations there too, when we've seen these women who have been victims of violence. And you're right.
And you don't hear them speak out. You never heard them speak out.
Very well, caller. Thanks very much for that contribution. We're actually due to take in our weather report, so we're going to do this right away. And, of course, we'll be back in just a bit.
Make your home merry and bright with Island Style's massive Christmas sale. Our wide range of porcelain and ceramic tiles are on sale up to 50% off. And that's not all. Save up to 15% off. Bathrooms with bundle and save. The more you buy, the more you save. On gorgeous bathroom vanities, bathtubs, faucets, shower glass, toilets, and more. Plus, contractors and tilers are in for a treat with our special discounts on tiling tools and accessories. Sale on now at all locations. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. It's time to deck the halls, deck the walls, or even deck the deck with huge Christmas savings only at Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's all, of course, the 1.1 is approximately 20 minutes to the hour 1, and it's now time for a weather report brought to you by Island Style Talamba. Forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east and east-southeast near 70 miles per hour or 28 kilometers per hour. The weather fair sky is becoming cloudy at times with a few isolated showers. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, partly cloudy skies becoming cloudy at times with a few scattered showers over the northern Windward and southern Leeward Islands. Elsewhere, fair to partly cloudy skies with a few brief showers. And the tropical weather outlook. The Atlantic high pressure system will continue to generate moderate easterly winds across the eastern Caribbean region for the next few days. Weak and stable condition will continue to cause occasional cloudiness and showers over portions of the Lesser Antilles during the forecast period. And this was the weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Make your home merry and bright with Island Style's massive Christmas sale. Our wide range of porcelain and ceramic tiles are on sale up to 50% off. And that's not all. Save up to 15% off. Bathrooms with bundle and save. The more you buy, the more you save. On gorgeous bathroom vanities, bathtubs, faucets, shower glass, toilets, and more. Plus, contractors and tilers are in for a treat with our special discounts on tiling tools and accessories. Sale on now at all locations. Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewfort. Or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. It's time to deck the halls, deck the walls, or even deck the deck with huge Christmas savings only at Island Style.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, we've been about 17 minutes before the hour of 2 o'clock, so you can call in. The number to call in is 4523046. Again, 4523046, as well as our WhatsApp number. It is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Now, we've also monitoring what has been going on in Israel, of course, and in Gaza. The continued release of individuals who were kidnapped back on the October 7th attack, and some very, very touching moments there with some individuals being released. In this one instance, an 8-year-old meeting her dad and explaining how she survived long enough to make it home. Let's go back to the phone lines. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Good afternoon, Mr. George.
How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad. I was watching something on the BBC on Friday, and I see they opened one of the biggest record shop in Oxford Street. I don't know if you know that record. It's a big record shop. And you know what they sell in there? LPs. LPs coming back.
Well, some people like, it's like antiques, caller. Some people like antiques.
But what surprised me is the amount, the crowd. They had to make some go in and some, because the crowd, I think, reached Trafalgar Square. One long, big crowd of people, and they had a mix of people. There was young people, there was middle-aged, there was the old folks. But what I'm, because a lot of people get rid of the record player, they get rid of the amplifier, so it looks like they'll have to bring those things back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all happens. Yeah.
Because so I say, Jesus Christ, look at the amount of people waiting to buy a record. And if they let all in, there'll be a stumpy. So they have to say 6 in, 6 come out, 6 go in, to stop a stumpy to buy LPs. And a lot of people had that, they throw it away, you know.
I'm sure that's how it is, to caller. Sometimes you.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know. Madam, I must tell Madam to buy what you call a record Bible, because they with the record Bible they have all records from 40s, 50s. They have them in that Bible, and they have a price on them, what they worth, because some of them worth money. And I could give you 2 examples. The Bickles Crossing Abbey Road in Shepherd Bush, they dress in white, and that sleeve of record, all of them dressed in white, and they crossing the road. That is £1,000 for that record.
Okay.
And the Johnny Rotten with the Sex Pistol, Happy Birthday to the Queen. That worth about $1,200.
Well, caller, it's just like stamps. You've got people who collect them. They were plentiful at one point in time, and then they become rare, and their value goes up. Or coins, the same way.
A lot of people don't know that. And what really worth money now, Mr. George, is the sleeve. Yeah. Where you have the record in the sleeve.
Yes.
A lot of them was made like work of art.
Yep.
And people collecting them now. People pay all £1,000 for a record sleeve. Not even the record, the sleeve. They frame it in like a work of art. Because a lot of them was artwork.
It's interesting, caller, because sometimes you have people who will. Well, they call them hoarders. Yeah. And they don't want to throw away anything, right?
I am one of them.
And then, of course, you have the other individuals, the other personalities sometimes that, just get rid of these old things, man. They're just taking up space and causing dust accumulation, and, and then you have these clashes of, I suppose, philosophies when it comes to that, and some people... They want to see their house clear and clean and
clean.
Without anything. What good is this anymore? You can't even play it. So why do you have CDs? You don't have any CD players. And then we have this attitude of just throwing away things, and we don't have one of conservation, of recycling, of holding on to things, even though you may not have an immediate use of it. Now, that is a very interesting problem that a lot of people go through.
With cupboard,
yes.
Big, and where you can store those things that it's not in the eyes of anybody.
Well, I can tell you I've seen many a conflict, caller, where, there are people who will come and they'll just literally come in and they'll just want to throw away stuff, or they're just taking up too much space, and, we need more space for other things, and so... And we throw things away, and you never know, caller.
Well,
you never know.
Money, what is rubbish for is money for some people.
There you go. And so we do have to really sometimes see how, sometimes things might go out of style, they might go out of fashion, and then you never think that they'll have any value again.
But I was surprised to see the amount of people that line up to go in that record shop. And that used to be one of the biggest record shops in London. in Oxford Street.
HMV, I think it is,
And
yeah.
they close it when they stop selling LPs and EPs and 45s. All these records gone out of fashion, and CDs take over. You see?
Yep.
And today, look at the and a lot of people, you see, they're like a lot of your blogs there, they work in the record, they'll just throw a record, but they don't. But you have to go and buy what you call a record Bible.
Right.
And because in the record Bible, they'll show you had a disc that used to go, they make those records, the 45 and the EPs, they make them with a hole in the middle. And you had another piece to push in the middle to put it on the record player. And one time it was a triangle. Next time it was a wrong piece. And then they start making the record with just a hole in the middle. You there with me?
I'm with you, I'm following.
Yeah. So, most of those records there's a price on them. There's a price where a record probably used to sell 7 shillings, something like that, or 45, something like that. But for some records, for some reason, it come to worth money, because I don't know how a Beatles record could worth 1,000 £1,000.
Well, sometimes people want to collect them. That's what it is, really. And it's sentimental. It has some value. They believe it sounds better sometimes on the old records. And that's the thing. I mean, when we have these, it tells a story. There's some context. And so people will go far to be able to enjoy something that is that's rare. And we also do need to appreciate that when it comes to our own heritage, and let's hope that we can see some sense when it comes to this issue. Because of course, Colin, I mean, it's hard to even look at the issue of music of old in St. Lucia, because a lot of the records don't exist. I'm talking about even the audio records now,
Yeah.
The stuff that was at Radio St. Lucia and elsewhere.
They put that in some old places and they store all of our
yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with St. Lucia.
It's a big problem.
They're not sentimental. They just don't believe in those things.
It's a big problem
because
across
Barbadian, you'll never see that happen in Barbados.
Yeah, and of course, again, it's to have the institutions to be able to maintain them.
That's why every record thing that recorded and things like that, for hundreds of years, you will go in England and you see there's place you go and you'll find them. Right,
but then and then you have to have the institutions to support it. So, like for instance, we were just talking about the National Archives a couple of weeks ago, and the importance of having such an institution. And like in the case of Trinidad, for instance, they have it under their National Library, NALIS, and it's a National Library and Information System, and they've got a very large modern building right next to the Red House on Woodford Square.
In the back of Woodford Square.
Right, behind the old old fire station.
Right there.
The old fire station building, and they've done it up very, very nicely.
And they put everything in ready.
Yes, and it is a very, very well run institution that can handle a lot of these issues of national records, but we have a long way to go when it comes to these things, and ensuring, of course, that they are properly kept in the right environment, and they're backed up, and we have them in the cloud, and we've got it digitized fully, and so it requires a good system, and I guess. Maybe it's because of
very good at that as well.
Maybe because we faced so many fires in the past. Maybe because we were changing hands all the time. I don't know, but we seem not to be too keen on keeping things for very long. Yeah, in the case of St. Lucia.
Well, the trouble is we're not patriotic enough.
Could be that too. That could also be a part of the challenge, caller. Certainly, there may be a lot of reasons, but let's hope that. There can be some realization that this has value, right? It's the same way, for instance, we've been speaking about things that we like to kill, like the fedlins, right? So, well, one can say, well, it's a snake, it's poisonous, it's dangerous, let's just get rid of it.
Yeah.
But, again, the potential for research and even in terms of medical and health research, the use of the fetalness, so much has been done in looking at that and can still be done in terms of looking at the potential use of the fetalness in different treatments. Dr. Martin Dide, for instance, has been doing a lot of work with respect to that.
Why we don't have a museum? For what reason we don't have a museum?
Well, I suppose it comes back to
a lot of these things that we have artifacts and everything in the museum.
Well, I know that there's a new attempt, a new effort at play right now to try to realize that dream of having a national museum.
But I call. I think it was Joe Moore I was talking to. But I called several times because I am a caller. And I told them when they moved the old Golden Hope from Latok to the
Millennium Highway. Yes.
Millennium Highway. I said, that's a building because the tourists that go on, sooner or later, tourist boat will be landing in Latok there. So they can just have a little walk to go and see our museum, stretch the leg. That is the place, and that's a government property. So we don't have to pay to build a building, and those buildings was well made out of bricks. So why we don't take that? So when I put it, they said Kenny Anthony wanted to put his headquarters or whatever, his office there. I said, but that is a good place for we to build a museum.
And I think there is actually an effort to look at that specific site as well. But it is.
Site, Mr. George. What's wrong with it?
Well, I mean, we have to look at it from a lot of different perspectives, caller, in terms of development, but it could be a potential site, definitely. And I think it is. But what the fundamental point is that we do need an institution like a museum, a national museum, that will tackle the preservation and conservation of artifacts and potentially also our art, right? Things of memory and memorabilia. That has to be certainly looked at as a matter of priority because, and there's also, as you rightfully saying, there's lots of potential for it to become a national attraction, a tourist attraction.
That place, I tell you, when I was growing up in St. Lucia as a young kid, sometimes we stay from Marcia, and probably 6 of us say, let's go to Latok. We get coconut, we buy cake to give the people.
Okay.
Inside there, we bring the coconut, and I don't know why people, they say that's mad, like coconut like that. We break it and tear it and give it.
I have no idea where that association came from either. Yes.
And I tell you, it's a place a lot of people used to go.
Okay, interesting.
A lot of people like to go to the hospital. They don't have nobody in the hospital, but they go and visit people in the hospital. And from hospital, they take the walk
okay.
up to Latok.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I suppose that was a sort of an adventure on a weekend.
Just like that. You want to go somewhere Sunday.
Right.
And you say, I'll visit hospital.
You go to the hospital and then go to Latok. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, good afternoon.
All right, then, caller. Have a good one. Thanks very much for bringing us down that path, that memory lane, as always. And, of course, the number to call in, I'm not too sure if we have very much time left. Actually, we're almost time to end the program. But, of course, thanks to all those who have called. And we'll be back again tomorrow for another program of the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.